to my channel. My name is Brian Dawson. I am making this video simply because I wanted to do a recap on 2023, lessons learned in 2023, and moving forward into 2024, how I plan to use the lessons that was learned. So, a short introduction. My name is Brian, as stated. I come from Louisiana. I travel all over the country throughout the year. And this year, I went overseas 3 times. And I'm ending the year going back overseas in January. So, I learned a lot. And one night I was sitting thinking, like, man, this year was just one for the books. So much happened, from triumph to tragedy, and I had to learn how to maneuver through this thing called life this year. I transitioned from 28 years old to 29-year-old, and I'm knocking on 30. And so I would like to do a video where I share some of the wisdom that I have learned in this journey. So please stick with me, and I hope you enjoy the video. I have my tablet here simply so when I'm doing the video, I don't go into something that's off topic. So I wrote down 6 things that I will say this year, 2023, taught me. So the first thing that this year taught me, which it began for me, I always, for the last 4 years, began every year with between January and February going overseas. So I leave the United States, I go to a country that I've never been before, and since I've starting to get my numbers up, it's getting to a point where some countries I return to, or people hit me up and they say, hey man, when the next time you're going to be back here, things like that. And so one of the things that I do is I go overseas. So this year started with me going to New York. So I went to New York, and I went to the King's Disease 3 tour at Madison Square Garden, one night only, where I seen Nas, Hit Boy, in Manhattan, and it was amazing. The energy there was super turned. It was just an incredible vibe. So that's how the year started, and I got to explore New York that night a little bit. I stayed at the Pod Hotel right there in Manhattan. Then I left the next day. I caught a flight from JFK to Miami, from Miami to Santiago de Cuba. Okay. I am dating a Cuban woman. Her name is Delanise. We've been dating for, you can pretty much say, a year now, but we were friends for 2 years, 2.5 years before that. And so this was my first time in February going to Cuba, checking out the vibe. Before then, I was in Puerto Rico, Colombia, and I have videos about that. So one thing I learned about setting the tone for my year, the reason why I tend to go overseas or I go do something at the beginning of the year is because each year is a chapter or a page in your book of your life, the book of your life. So you want everything to have meaning and things, and we never know what's going to happen. and we work hard. I know I do. I work really hard. No joke. I grind and I put my time in. So when I'm off work, I really want to enjoy life. I really want to do something that's going to commemorate, put a stamp on this year. Like, okay, I can remember this year because I went here, I did that. And so Nas was on the run, the artist. He was on the run where he had dropped, what, 4 or 5 albums in a span of 3 years. Him and Hit Boy. Hit Boy being a producer from California, Los Angeles, Inglewood. And so the music he was making was almost like a backdrop or a soundtrack to certain parts of my life. And so I was like, man, I wanted to go. So I bought the tickets in November. The concert was in February. I went there. It was, like I said, it was amazing. Went to JFK. From JFK, went to Santiago de Cuba. I had never been to Cuba, like most Americans. Now it's legal for us to go to Cuba. You know, I was only going to Cuba because I had this friend that I met via the internet in Cuba, and we had been friends for a long time. And eventually I was like, well, hey, I go to all of these other countries. Why not go here? So I went to Cuba. Um, Cuba, I don't speak Spanish. I'm trying to learn Spanish. And hola, my nombre es Brian. Estoy en Nashville, Tennessee. Quiero hacer este video en español. Estoy aprendiendo español actualmente. Creo que el español es un idioma hermoso. Gracias. Te gusta es subscribe. YouTube. Excuse me. I had to take a brief intermission. So back to story time. So I went to Cuba. I had never been to Cuba, and I went to Santiago de Cuba. That trip was, it lasted about 5 days, and then I had to come back to the States for work. It was awesome. I met Delanese. I met some cool people in Cuba. I was more accurate to the Spanish language after being there for some days. And I learned that sometimes the things that we fear or we think that we fear is all propaganda and it's put in our head to hold us back. So after going to Cuba, I came back. I was working with one trucking company with my co-driver Rob. And so we were trucking and working. And so that year, in 2023, this year that's ending, I went to Cuba in February. Then in May, I went to Chicago. So when I went to Chicago, that was my first time ever as a civilian in the city of Chicago. We hear a lot of horror stories and demonization of Chicago, but I'm going to tell you this: Chicago has one of the most beautiful downtowns I have ever been to. For real. Like, I went there during the Sueno Latin concert, and it was amazing. I got to see a lot of great talent. I met some really cool people. I had a lot of fun in Cuba, in Chicago, that I can't really talk about in this particular vlog, but Chicago was amazing. The food was amazing. The culture and the people that I met was amazing. Getting from O'Hare to the hotel that I stayed at was relatively easy. Walking through downtown and everything was amazing. I would probably say Chicago is the best city in the Midwest. But I don't want my people in Detroit to come for me. But I haven't had the opportunity to really just parlay and have fun in Detroit. So, Detroit, Milwaukee, Chicago, Indianapolis, um, Cleveland, things like that. Those are the cities people really think about when you think of the Midwest. So I had fun there. A lot happened with my career this year. I ended up getting a ticket in Nebraska for unlawful parking. I was terminated from my job. After being terminated from my job, my co-driver was very loyal to me, and he decided he would switch companies as well. So we switched companies about a month off the road. That month that I was off the road in September, September through like October, I was off the road. That time was the only time in the past almost 2 years that I had spent not working or at home. And it taught me a lot. It taught me like, man, I'm spending so much time working that I kind of lost myself in the grind of working and being so loyal to a company. And then at the end of the day, the company could fire you whenever they see fit. But it was a really good experience at the same time. I made a lot of money with them. Um, I made about 110K working for them, and I worked with another company briefly, and I realized there was things that I thought I didn't like about my company that I was with, but I understand why they did certain things, and it enabled me to make more money. I didn't stay with the second company that I went to very long because I felt that we could have made more money and things was going really slow, but they had really great benefits as well if you stay with them long term. They had a company ownership policy where in 5 years you could become owners of the company. So the pay is not as much, but in the long run, the shares that you get by working for this particular trucking company, you benefit greatly off of. So I was like, man, I don't have 5 years to wait to try to become an owner in this company. And I know how the business is that at any given moment, you could find a reason to fire me. So I was like, nah, I just rather be paid now. Okay. So that happened I got, when me getting fired from the job, that happened in late September. In between that, before I went there, before that happened, I went back to Cuba. I went back to Cuba. I went so New York, Cuba, Chicago, Cuba, terminated from the job. Spent a month off from work, and then when all I did was hit the gym, I worked out. I'm a sober guy, so I don't do any marijuana or anything like that. Every now and then I have a drink, but for the most part, I work so much, I'm pretty cut and dry. So the second job, we had to take a hair test. Had no problem with that. Gave them a piece of my hair. Took a urinalysis. Boom. Was hired by the job. That was the first company I've ever had to take a hair test from. In this time frame, a lot of stuff was happening off off road while I wasn't like my home life. So when you give in trucking or any career, I imagine military or something like that, or even maybe law or wherever you do, you have when it's really a high stakes thing, you have to give so much of yourself, and you have to choose sometimes between home life or more money, home life or more money. And if I was a truly single man, meaning I didn't have anything back home to be loyal to, sometimes it would be easier. But I have a son, so I always looked at it like, well, if I'm broke, if I don't have any money, if the student loans are kicking my butt, then what's the point of being home? Because I could be there for my son, but if I'm not able to provide for him the life that I probably could if I just sacrifice a couple years, then I'm of no service to him. I'm doing him a injustice. But at the same time, being a father we provide more than just a financial benefit to the people that we love. We provide um, safety, we provide leadership, we provide a service to them where we could just be there and we can get things done. So that occurred. So I ended up being off the road for a month, and my son, I spent all the time with him. And even though I wasn't with him, I was going to the gym. That's another thing. Being on the road really had taken a toll on my physical health to a degree because I team drive, so I work 22 hours a day. If I'm not driving, my co-driver is driving. And if I wasn't in trucking, I would probably run maybe 5 to 10 miles a week. I would hit the gym 3 to 4 times a week, and in a month's time, I'll probably be, very, very active. But if you were solo, I think that you could probably. I have an Anytime Fitness membership. You could do that. But when you're driving with a partner, it's all about the bread, and you're always moving. And I learned about solo driving is you may make a little less solo driving, but at least you get to have somewhat of a life. You can check on some things. But it's benefits to teaming as well. And I had an amazing partner, and have an amazing partner in Rob. So I think being with Rob actually helped me stay in trucking because trucking could be a very difficult transition for people that's not used to that lifestyle. Being away from home, doing everything on the go, eating on the go, sleeping on the go. Everything is go, 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 go. For a small town boy like me, I don't think anyone, I don't care how big of a city you live in, whether it's New York, Houston, Los Angeles, Detroit, Chicago, Miami, listen, you can't live a faster life than I lived in the past 3 years. It's just impossible to go from Houston to LA, from LA to Sacramento, Sacramento to Seattle, from Seattle to go to Ohio somewhere, from Ohio go to Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania come back to Alabama, Alabama go back to Atlanta, take a 34-hour reset, boom, pick up in Atlanta, go to Los Angeles. You feel what I'm saying? It's no faster life than that. If it is, I wouldn't even probably want to do it because it's a fast lifestyle. But then when you add a calendar, and every Thursday, I'm getting paid $1,700, $2,300, $3,300. It's like, man, it's like, well, damn, I'm making so much bread, or what I thought was so much bread, because that's all relative. But from the world I came back, the world I was fleeing is like, well, if I get off the road, it's no job back home that's going to pay me that much. I could, in 2 weeks, I could have $3,500. In 2 months, I could be up $11,000. It's like, well, those 60 days are going to pass anyway. In 3 months, in 6 months, in 6 months, I probably had made $45,000, 7 months. And it's like, well, damn. And there's people who work all year and don't make that. And then I hate to compare myself to other people because I kind of realized that with money, the more money we make, we have to give so much of ourselves to get that. So the first thing that I learned in 2023, or one of my lessons that I learned in 2023, is that progress comes with struggle, and there is no way to cheat the grind. So there's simply no way to cheat having to work hard. And whatever it is you want to do in life, you're going to have to work hard at it. If you want to learn a foreign language, if you want to become a master in a certain field, there's no shortcut to get in there. You're going to have to put the time in. You're going to have to sacrifice the time that you have to do something else for that opportunity cost. You're going to have to do it. And it may take hours, days, weeks, months, and on the other side of that, years to get to the other side where you have mastered that craft. And I think that that's something that's just, is no way around that. If someone has a way around that, there's no way around that. You have to you have to dedicate and sacrifice part of your life to make it to the other side of the game. And if you don't do it, that time is going to pass anyway. 2, it's okay to choose the life that you want, and you deserve the life that you have created for yourself. Whatever it is you want to do in life, wherever you see yourself going, you have to first choose it. Then you go back to the first thing where there's no way to cheat the grind and you have to put all of the work in. But once you create that life that you want for yourself, sometimes that comes with survivor's guilt. That comes with realizing that people that you love and people that you spent the earlier days with, they might not make it to the other side. But make sure that you take care of yourself so that you can make it to the other side. If you work hard, you're working hard for a reason. So when you get to the other side of the path that light, that hard work leads to, you deserve it. You deserve the life that you work so hard for. Your descendants, your children, great-grandchildren, they deserve to live a better life due to the work that you put in. Okay. 3, life is short, and you must live it to the fullest and get the most out of your life. This year, I had a friend pass away. And this friend and I were really close. We had been friends since middle school, high school, college, post-college. So I knew this person for half of my existence. And we spoke and talked all the time. Even when we fell off, we would find a way to, if he called or if I called him, we would chat. He was very inspirational. His name was Marcus. Marcus, you were amazing human being. And you taught us all so much about living life to the fullest, overcoming odds and obstacles. You were a writer. You wrote many great works that will live on in this world. And I want to let you know from this side of the game is that you were a giant. And honestly, I have to live a very long time to even do half of what you've done, from publishing 5 or 6 different books. I mean, this guy was publishing books when we were in high school. This guy was writing and doing speeches to elementary kids. When way back in high school, he was a legend, for real. And I have to say that because it's nothing wrong with giving credit and being honest and saying, hey, that person was amazing. And I try to surround myself with people that's better at me at certain things that I could look up to, Take charge of your life because life is short. 4, money is important, but also your home life is equally important. While making money and earning money is important, your home life is equally important. You can't spend all of your time just working and not have a balance. 5, I try not to speak about any type of gender divide on my channel. It's enough YouTube channels that talk about black men this, black women this, Western women this, Western men this. Women don't do this, men don't do this. Listen, I get it. I'm a human being. I'm out here. I ran these streets. I'm 29 years old. I'm currently out here in this world. I have about another at least 10 years probably before I reach my next level. So I would say this: we get it, and a lot of us are frustrated. But I say be the change that you want, right? That's what the great philosopher said. Be the change you want to see in the world. And so instead of putting people down or creating clickbait content, I try to make content that's more optimistic and positive because there's a lot of channels dedicated to pointing out the problem or problems. And a lot of these people that, including myself, we suffer from trauma, mental illness, substance abuse. We have family lineages that were oppressed. We have a lot that we came out of. So to expect those same people to be perfect or those same people to be in a situation where they're flawless is like, man, we've been through a lot, right? We've been through a lot. So I want to experience more of the light. You can't have light without darkness, right? But I want to experience more of the light. I want to feel more of like the positivity. So I try not to promote any gender divide, and I have to be conscious with that because I realize if I did make videos on my channel that was dedicated to gender divide topics or saying women are not this or men are not this, and I think that will probably gain more attention than if I were to speak a life. And that really tells me something about the state of the world. So I say, live your life. I'm not anyone's leader outside of myself. I'm not part of any organization. I'm not part of any group or political party. I am a human being, and I try to promote things and ideas that I think can help humanity, but at the same time, I'm not in a position to tell people you should do this or you have to do this. That's not me. I mean, because I could be wrong. So I'm not, I reject that. Lastly, do it now and don't wait. So whatever it is you want to do it now. Putting it off another 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years is no telling if you're going to live that long. Do it now. So a recap of the 6 things that I talked about. Progress comes with struggle, and there is no way to cheat the grind. 2, it's okay to choose the life that you want and live the life that you work so hard for. 3, life is short and you must live it to the fullest. 4, money is important, but also your time and your home life is important. 5, I reject the gender divide between the sexes. I think both sexes have valid points. In reality, I live life where I have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful experience. And I'm not here to tell anybody what they should or what they shouldn't do. Right? 6, do it now and don't wait. That's been my video, my lessons learned, a little recap of 2023. Going into 2024, I wish you the absolute best. Get the most out of life.